and Rural Cap's mission is to improve the lives of low-income Alaskans. And we are partnering, we're bringing this webinar to you with help from Tribes Extension, that's the cooperative extension group that is, its mission is to help tribes access agricultural information. So I'm very excited today. We have two guest speakers. We have Ann Fisher from the Natural Resources Conservation Council and Annie Fredericks from the Intertribal Agriculture Council. And Ann is based in Palmer. Annie's based in, and Ann is originally, are you originally from Montana, Ann?
I'm from North Dakota.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay, but you were working.
That's all right. Close enough.
Close enough. Great. And Annie is based in Anchorage. The Intertribal Agriculture Council is actually a national organization. Annie's based in Anchorage and is originally from Strathbluck. Did I get that right? Not more or less. Okay. And the NRCS and the IAC partner together to provide resources to tribes. And today, Ann's going to give an overview about what the NRCS can offer anyone, really. And then Annie is going to chime in and give some specific information on programs that apply to tribes. We have a nice group here. I'm really hoping there's chances for you to ask questions. I know there's always questions about high tunnels. That may be a really hot topic, and we'll hopefully get those answered. But Ann's going to talk about, she's got a brief presentation, and we'll sort of do an overview, and then please put questions in the chat as they occur to you, and we will get started. So thanks everyone for coming, and Ann, I will turn it over to you.
Great, thanks. I'll just do a brief introduction and then hopefully we'll share my screen and go from there. As Emily said, Ann Fisher, I'm the partnership coordinator and acting tribal liaison for NRCS here in Alaska, located in Palmer. Some of you may remember Christy Harper from, gosh, it's been a while ago now. She left and took a job with the Forest Service. And so I've been acting in her place since she's been gone, and hopefully we'll be hiring her replacement shortly. We've been working on that for a while. So also, as Emily said, I'm originally from North Dakota. I started my NRCS career in North Dakota and then moved to working in Eastern Montana, where I primarily worked with farmers and ranchers to improve their natural resources on their private lands. Through that work, and I'm just going to kind of segue that into a little bit of what we're talking about today. It seemed throughout the years, and as information changed, we started working more with nutrient density and human health and how that all pertains to each other. And soil health was a big part of what I worked on in the last probably 15 years, and really started delving into more of the human health and the nutrient density of our food and healthy portions of our food and how we get there. So I do have some technical knowledge as far as that goes. Since coming up here, I've been a little bit out of that realm. I try to stay connected as much as possible, and there are some of you on here that I recognize and appreciate you being on, so you probably know way more than I do about my own story here, and I apologize for that. But I'll jump into this slideshow. Just some of you may already know all of this. You may know who NRCS is, but some of you don't, so I kind of wanted to give a background of why we started, who we are, and move on from there. So, you know, if I can get it to move for me. There we go. So we're a federal government agency under the Department of USDA, the Department of Agriculture. And our motto has been helping people help the land. We work on not just soil, but soil, water, air, plants, animals, energy, and humans. And we work on private lands, which includes tribal lands. So in 1935, in response to the Dust Bowl down in the lower 48, there were a lot of farmers, I think, that had moved across the landscape and hadn't been accustomed to farming in tougher circumstances. And by tougher circumstances, I just mean not as much rainfall, recovery wasn't as quick. And so it didn't take too long, I guess, for the conditions to degrade and not recover, plus some dry years, lots of wind, lots of insects. So there was a man, Hugh Hammond Bennett, who'd been kind of pounding his fist for quite a while, wanting to see some changes on the landscape. And I bring all this history up because it does come into what we're doing today and why we're doing it. So when they decided to form the soil, and it was originally the Soil Erosion Service, then became the Soil Conservation Service, they really were focused on the soil and the soil that was blowing away and washing away. And so he really pressed Congress to enact the Soil Erosion Service, and they did. And it's a whole cool story that I won't go into today, but he did. But we also needed partners to help us get it on the ground, because it wasn't very effective to just send out government agents to farmers saying, hey, we're here, we're from the government, we're here to help you. So some of those local agents came in the form of conservation districts. So today we still have partnership with soil and water conservation districts, tribal conservation districts, and other partners, people who are on the ground trying to help let it, I guess, help get the message across as to who we are and what we're doing, and also let us know what the needs of the local people are. So NRCS assistance is entirely voluntary. We're not a regulatory agency. It's you know, you request our assistance, and we help you with develop plans, looking at your resources. And I guess when I say resources, that's what I'm talking about. What are your, and you'll hear me talk about resource concerns a lot. And I get pushback from people saying, what does a resource concern mean? And those are basically just things like erosion, or my trees aren't healthy. That'd be a plant resource concern. You know, they're not growing how they should be, or they're not blooming, and I'm not getting fruits out of them. So those are all some of the resource concerns. There's no minimum amount of acreage or maximum amount of acreage that we'll work on. We'll work with all private lands, large and small. And also, and this bottom part's important, we do protect your private information. I've been around long enough, 31 years, to see a lot of that information get discussed, and how do we, you know, making sure we protect that, because there can be calls for information from different groups and different private and public sector for wanting to know what's being done with the government money, but your information remains private. So our technical assistance, and I'll stress on this probably more than a lot of people, just because this is the foundation for our agency. We have a lot of technical expertise on our staff, in state, in local areas, as well as regionally and nationally. So we can call on specialists from all across the United States. We have people who are soil scientists, biologists, soil conservationists, agronomists, wildlife specialists. So as I said, if you have some concerns or some natural resource issues and you want help with that, let us know, and we can find somebody who knows the answers. Our other part is financial assistance. So we do have programs that are mandated by the government to help people with some financial assistance. And I want to bring up that Environmental Quality Incentive Program is the one you'll hear the most about, and that's, we always just refer to it as EQIP. And we'll provide financial assistance based on some of the planning we had done with you to meet your goals and objectives. So if food is a concern and you have a place that you want to put a high tunnel, that is something that we will work with you with some technical assistance, but also we can provide some financial assistance. And generally speaking, this financial assistance comes by way of a contract. So it's a contract between you and the federal government stating the government will give you X amount of dollars for the, say, building of that high tunnel or hoop house. It's generally speaking not going to be 100% of whatever it is you're doing cost. It's probably going to be closer to 80 to 85%. It just depends. We have a cost list that we go by, and that's based on what things have cost in the past and how much we can put towards that. So you would know that up front if you're getting financial assistance from us, how much of that project we're going to pay for. A couple others that I won't go into too deeply today, but just for your awareness, the Conservation Stewardship Program is a program that was developed to, it was originally called the incentive program because it rewards the best and incentivizes the rest. So it's for people who have already maybe done or addressed a lot of their conservation needs on their place, and they want to do more. They want to put in pollinator habitat, or they want to do something additional. So that provides a base layer of funding, as well as some funding every year for the new practices that you're implementing. And then the ASEP, or the easement program. And again, I'm not going to spend too much time on that. We do offer easements on farmland, prime farmland, that people might be interested in putting into an easement to protect from, say, development. So a conservation plan, what is this conservation plan? And by we, I mean our field office technical people, and you will sit down and take a look at your property, take a look at what you're trying to do, what you want to address or fix, and talk about how you might do it. Because there's going to be a lot of different ways to do a lot of different things. We don't have a one size fits all type thing, just because there are too many different factors. So we sit down with you and we talk about some different options to address those concerns, and then you choose from that and decide what of those options you want to do, and then talk about putting you into a potential contract. And I say potential because they are competitive. So far up in Alaska, for a lot of these practices in the last 5 years anyway, they've been competitive, but we've been able to fund a large majority of them. So, and again, no charge for NRCS assistance. So here are just some of the resource concerns. If anybody's interested, this is kind of an interesting website that you could pull these up, and the next one I'll go into it. But if you're wondering what kind of resource concerns there are on soil and what does that mean, you can just click on that and I'll show you on the next one. And again, I can share that link with anybody who's interested, and you can also Google it. But so soil erosion, and it gets pretty technical, but you can come up with your own conservation concerns list. And then it'll summarize it for you. So you can do this all on your own computer and have your own list, either before or after you meet with one of our field personnel. And it'll come up with a list that looks like this. And as I said, it gets pretty technical, but it does list it out for you. So one of our foundational mantras, I guess, is managing for healthy soil. And I think that doesn't matter whether it's in forest land, crop land, grazing land, every kind of land, because everything we do relies on healthy soil, even the fish and the water habitat, because if that soil isn't healthy in the uplands, it's probably affecting, the water quality, and thus the fish and everything else. So managing for healthy soils are 4 principles I just want to talk about. And if we're really talking about food today, these become just very important to food quality. So they're maximizing continuous living roots. It's important to have living roots in the soil as long as you can. And I know in Alaska, that's not as long as other places, but it's still possible to have it for a longer period of time than sometimes we think. And if I think of a garden area, sometimes we just put in a crop like lettuce and then we don't follow it up. So that soil sits there without getting living roots in it for quite some time. And the reason you want living roots in that soil is because those living roots will take a lot of the energy they get and they'll actually leak nutrients through sugars, we would call them sugars, into the soil to feed the small biology that lives in the soil. And that's important because that biology is going to go out and trade for that sugar that the plant is offering. It's going to bring in minerals and nutrients from the soil profile back to the plant, because that plant can't walk around like you and I can walk around. That plant is stuck in one place. So it has to use something that's going to go out and help it get the nutrients it needs. So the longer we can have living roots in the soil, the longer those roots can help feed the soil, and it can have a symbiotic relationship with that plant. Minimizing disturbance. Biology in general doesn't like disturbance. Every time you go by with a hoe or a rototiller or a machine, you're killing a lot of that biology. Specific biology, bacteria can tolerate a lot of destruction, but fungi and higher level like protozoa, and I might be getting a little in the weeds here, but those types of biology don't tolerate the destruction as much. And if you continue with the tillage over and over again, pretty soon you'll end up with an imbalance of soil biology. So you'll have high levels of bacteria and low levels of fungi and protozoa and the rest of the food web. So it's important to minimize that disturbance as much as you can. Maximize the soil cover. The more you can have mulch on top of the ground, keeps that soil covered. It reduces the erosion and it keeps that biology happy down there, and it actually will keep your biology living a little bit longer than you would with open soil that's open to freezing, thawing, wind erosion, water erosion much quicker. The biology, again, the longer you can keep that biology functioning, the warmer those soils can stay for longer periods of time. Excuse me. And then maximize biodiversity. And in a cropland situation or a garden situation, that's crop rotation. So it's moving, say, your mustard to your carrots, to your corn, to whatever it is you're planting. And that's for a couple different reasons. You don't want to get the bugs, anything that might want to infiltrate from a destructive bug standpoint. You don't want to just have a smorgasbord for them to eat all the time. So you could do 2 things. You can either interplant, so you have different species together so it doesn't look like a target for them, or just move those crops from place to place from year to year so that you don't have a buildup of specific destructive insects and other things, fungus, things like that. Boy, I haven't talked this long for a while by myself. So conservation practices for local food production. So those principles are pretty important to what we're trying to do. The high tunnel system, this probably looks very familiar to a lot of you. It's an enclosed structure, protecting from wind, sun, excessive rain, and a little bit of the cold. I realize it definitely has its challenges in Alaska, either heavy snow loads, lots of wind, and they do take some maintenance, but if placed in the proper place, locality, they can be very successful. And I suspect there are several people on today who've had great success with these. Nutrient management. Again, nutrient management, what we give that plant to eat is going to result in how nutrient dense it is. And that goes directly into us, right? The food is our medicine. So we want to have the most nutrient dense plants we can. So managing that, managing that is important. If we have excess nutrients of one nutrient or another, that can throw everything off. It can also leach into our water supply. It can have a lot of effects. So we do provide some financial incentive to help you manage your nutrients, and also some technical assistance. And sometimes we work with some of our partners to help do that. Conservation crop rotation, I just talked about that, the importance of that. So we also provide some financial assistance just to get people to understand it. So it might be 2 or 3 years of, having a conservation crop rotation to make sure you're rotating your crops. Same with the irrigation water management. We can provide some financial assistance to help you time and regulate your water. Also, we can sometimes provide water into that system. And there's the irrigation system that we can help with some financial assistance. So again, this is probably our most popular program. We don't have to do your whole farm. We can just do one specific thing that you're interested in at a time, or we can look at your whole operation. And in fact, in planning, we might look at your whole operation if you're interested, and you might have some forest that needs thinning over here or needs something done with, and you want to put in a high tunnel or some gardens or something over here, and you just might have a number of things you want addressed, and we can do the plan for the whole thing. That doesn't mean we will contract it all at once, or that we'll contract it at all. But you certainly might be able to do some of that. So I feel like I'm pretty long-winded here, sorry. Get excited about the soil health part of it. So here are our field offices. So we have field offices in Kenai, in Wasilla, Fairbanks, Delta Junction, and Juneau. And so that leaves a lot of areas, especially St. Paul, a lot of areas where we don't have field offices. But we want you to know that, oh, I missed Homer and Kodiak. We are willing to travel, and we will travel. So if you live in this area, Fairbanks has a large area it serves somewhere out there. Just get a hold of someone from the Fairbanks or the Delta Junction field office, and we will get somebody out there to take a look at your issues. Same with Kenai. Kenai would take care of St. Paul, Wasilla around this area, and Juneau down in this area. So want you to know that we do have those offices, and we are willing and able to travel to you. So don't hesitate to call or contact somebody to get a hold of them. And again, some more links, and that is all I'm going to share at this time. Whew.
Thanks, Anne. That was a great introduction. And at this point, Annie, can you can you tell us what the Intertribal Agriculture Council does, and how you have a partnership with NRCS?
It's best for me just to give it seems like a lot of people I meet, they don't know much about IAC or what they do, or never heard of IAC before. So I'll just give a little background first, because it seems like it helps, when I do that and I meet people and talk to them about AAC because they don't know who AAC is. And I'm Annie Fredericks. For those of you who don't know me, I'm originally from the native village of Juachbalak on the Kuskokwim River. I grew up a subsistence lifestyle. I was raised and born there, actually born there. My previous job there was I was the IGAP coordinator for 13 years. We had a small office, old building, a few workers. Then I'm at IAC, a nationwide company, and offices throughout all over the states. And it was a big jump. But anyway, I want to let you know what I'm going to start off with IAC's mission. And it's to provide a unified effort to promote change in Indian agriculture and for the benefit of Indian people. Our primary goal is to unite our efforts and bring about a positive change in Indian agriculture, which ultimately benefit the Indian and Alaska Native people. As a technical assistant specialist at IAC Alaska region, I'm committed to providing the best possible assistance. You can, you can contact me. I have my contact information. I'll give you at the end. We have different programs at IAC. We have the Youth Professional Department, Technical Assistance Network, which I'm a part of, Policy and Government Relations, Natural Resources Department. And let's see. IAC was established in 1987, and it was to promote the conservation, development, use of agriculture resources for Native producers and the American Indian and Alaska Native tribes. Sorry, my throat gets dry when I talk.
So Annie, can you give us an example of, have there been tribes that have used some of the NRCS programs successfully?
When I first started IAC, I was introduced to RoCap and through the former IAC technical assistant specialist, and she was working with introducing me to partnerships, and she introduced me to some of the villages out in, I think it was the Bering Straits area, Galvin, Elaman, and what are the other two now?
Stebbins and Unalakleet.
Stebbins and Unalakleet, and it was us. They were a part of she introduced the Alaska Cooperative Agreement we have with the NRCS, where we provide funds for different projects that meets NRCS's guidelines. And what they wanted to do was gardening. And so they did, they applied for gardening funds, and they were given the funds for over $5,000, and we're starting to work with them recently, and we're looking forward to working with them and other tribes to introduce our cooperative agreement. We have in the cooperative agreement, we have funds, startup cost funds for starting up TCDs in villages. I think it's $10,000. And recently we've had communities in other regions of Alaska that have applied for TCD funds to start up. And we also are getting our youth program getting internships, getting them internships in different, with different organizations in Alaska, where we would, because we believe that youth leadership is very important in the agriculture business. And so we're trying to, we're still searching more for like 7 more youth to join our youth program, so that we can place them with different agencies, such as, you know, hopefully the Knick Farm. I heard they had a very, really nice farm and really successful in, you know, in places like that where the youth would learn about agriculture and hopefully pursue that field.
Awesome. So you mentioned there's sort of basic, perhaps, basic gardening startup assistance, help forming a tribal conservation district. And then there's a lot of youth internships available. And I see Kelly joined us, and Kelly, you're like a bonus guest here. I don't know if you want to turn on your screen and introduce yourself. Oh, you look familiar. I think I've met you. Hi.
Yeah.
And you're the IAC, you're the newest technical assistance specialist, are you not?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, I'm Kelly May. I'm live here in Fairbanks, Alaska. I'm from Hooper Bay, Alaska, Nabari tribal member with them. And yeah, I joined IAC a few months ago. My specialty is hydroponic farming, and so Annie was talking about how we have different TAs and a lot throughout our organization, and each of us specialize in like different agricultural commodities. And so through reaching out with us, we could connect you with, people who have done meat and dairy, poultry, and like as myself, hydroponic farming. And yeah, and like kind of touch on one of those questions you asked earlier about what are some NRCS projects that were accomplished. I could think of like my Bay, where they had the boardwalk where they put up on our nesting ground for the geese and birds. And so, it's helped keep the tundra very clean and pristine. And so, there's definitely like a lot of opportunities between NRCS and IAC that, definitely worth reaching out and just at least getting in touch. May not have an opportunity immediately for direct your needs right now, but reaching out, letting us know your needs will help us find ways or solutions to your problems.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelly. Good to see you.
You too.
And that's a great segue. We'd love to open it up to our guests or attendees now to see if there's any questions you have about possible projects. Maybe you've wanted to get a high tunnel going, and you can either unmute yourself or put your question in the chat and we'll see what we can do. And if there's none, I will start with the high tunnel. Oh, good. Somebody's ready to talk. Go ahead, Elena.
I'm interested in the NRCS. I'm part of a volunteer effort at the Rabarchik Agricultural Park, which is associated with the Alaska State Fair. And my team is specifically interested, and we're building a food forest out there. So soil health is a huge part of it. And of course, there's also I wouldn't say conflict, but we're running into people who were like, what do you mean you're not tilling? So it would be good to maybe get some expertise out there for education purposes.
Well, first of all, I love it. And be strong. I'm well aware of the issues when you change to a zero tillage, and I love that you're doing that it's just a hard construct to get past. That's how, that's how grandpa did it, or that's how people have always done it. And they have and I'll just share my experience with a 100-year-old garden that I inherited from my in-laws. And I almost quit. I hadn't been a gardener and I wanted to quit because it was so hard and chunky because it had been beat to death for so many years. And they did everything right. I mean, they're great people, but it's just, we've learned now, right? So I go ahead.
I was going to say, and you say the way they've always done it, but where I'm being educated, because agriculture's not my background. I come from cybersecurity, but the person leading the team is pulling from a lot of indigenous knowledge and food forests that we're discovering that they've been doing all along. So
right, which is wonderful. I think it's a great opportunity up here, and I hear more about food forests. I don't know if you know, Eklutna Tribal Conservation District is working on a food forest out there, and there are several. And I think with the berries and with the access to different things, I just think it's an amazing opportunity here. So great to hear it. And yeah, I'll definitely make a note for our some of our field people that outreach.
They like to hear from people with degrees.
Right. Yep.
Yes.
Sometimes that's hard when you get into a new dynamic, right? But okay, good, thank you.
So go ahead, Jonathan, go ahead. Awesome.
Okay, there we go. Quick question, I think for Ann Fisher. Are you able to hear me there? It is okay. I'm sorry. Can you let me know if you can hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, perfect. Okay, there we go. So Ann, quick question. We are pursuing an opportunity with Dan Smith, USDA, looking at some REAP opportunities. Now this is a for-profit a grant, and is there any conflict in pursuing things with NRCS or other nonprofit entities and being able to partner like on a single farm or a single project? And so, yeah, just wanted to get your thoughts on that. And I'm sure there's some specifics we could elaborate on later, but maybe we can, hopefully we chat more. So, okay, let me lower my hand here.
Yeah, that was, let's see. It's hard to answer that without knowing all the specifics, right? We often have opportunities to partner. It does make it more difficult with for-profit because we have to open it up to anybody, right? So with some of our agreements, we have to do a notice of funding. So that everybody could compete for that same. So not knowing what you're talking about specifically, I'm just sort of giving you a broad overview. I don't know if I'm being helpful or not.
Maybe we can follow up afterwards. There is a nonprofit looking to distribute as a food bank, if you will, nutritional services and expanding into produce. The for-profit is a separate entity, but they would be working in collaboration, and so the REAP is going to help do some of the infrastructure for the farm itself. So, but I could see how that could get a little dicey. So maybe over the next couple of weeks we'll be able to send something out to you. So okay, all right.
Sure, thanks, Jonathan.
So I just wanted to recap, like if, let's say you don't know where to start, like a good place to start is with a phone call. So it looks like either IAC or NRCS calling those numbers. We can make sure that screenshot gets to everybody. That's a good place to start.
Yes, I think either one. Either one is a good place to start. As I said, or showed on my presentation, as far as our agency goes, you know, we'll come and meet anybody wherever they are. Sometimes it takes a bit, just especially if you're in St. Paul to get there. But we will make every effort, and we're getting staffed up enough to do that. But as I said, we're also working with partners. IAC is one of our partners. Homer Soil and Water Conservation District just received a national equity grant. They'll be working with some tribal partners down in that area, in the Kenai area. So we do have a lot of partners that can also help with technical assistance in particular. And I appreciate Kelly's talking about Hooper Bay Trails and Walkways, because it reminded me that I don't always get this out there as efficiently as I should, or specifically, in that we will pay, or we do have projects, I should say, on subsistence. So subsistence has been recognized as a farming mechanism, or farming. So the Trails and Walkways out in Hooper Bay in particular helped with subsistence. It also helped with some potential erosion. It helped with some other things. So think of that, even moose habitat, willow tipping, or shrub development. So there are a lot of things that we can help with that you may not originally think of as food related, but it is. If it's subsistence related, it can be. So I wanted to throw that out there, and thank you, Kelly, for bringing that up.
So a frequent question that people have about some of the programs is that a lot of times, like, the landowner or the tribe, they have to have the money up front and then get reimbursed. Is that always the case, or are there cases where you don't have to have the money in hand?
So let's take a high tunnel. If somebody applied for, and there's a whole process that I won't delve into right now, but if you applied for and were awarded a contract for a high tunnel, you have to order the appropriate kit or high tunnel system. And that can take some money up front, but you can get advance payments if you can't afford to pay for it. And I'm going to just use some totally wild numbers. Say it was $10,000 and you don't have that. You could request, and you had to pay for it to get it there. You can request that advance payment. But there's some technicalities there where you have to also, once you, and I just want to throw this out there because it can kind of be an issue too. Once that clock starts ticking, you have X amount of time to get it built and certified. So it isn't, oh, I'll just get some money and then I'll just do it as I can. So I just want people to be aware of that you can get advance payments, but it comes with some caveats. So.
Thanks. Go ahead, Kaylee.
Hi, thanks. My question, I think there's a lot of interpretations of what technical assistance can be. And, I know with NRCS, sometimes if you're working on a specific conservation issue, obviously calling and finding out which program aligns with that and having someone come out and help create a plan can be a huge help. But I think in a lot of rural communities where there are limitations on human capacity and how many people can be involved and wear different hats and try to accomplish a project. Sometimes the technical assistance that's needed can be just needing the hands and someone with the background knowledge that understands how to erect a high tunnel, or do some basic like soil preparation or bed making or things like that. And I just, having worked in other states, I see that like NRCS and cooperative extension sometimes wears those hats and comes, is in the field constantly with producers and helping them troubleshoot irrigation or do actual field work and building of infrastructure. And I don't see that happening very often in Alaska. And I know we have, limited capacity in the technical assistance realm also. but it's growing across all of these different agencies. There's all of this conversation about technical assistance. So I'm just wondering how we're defining technical assistance right now and what types of technical assistance is being offered, both by NRCS and IAC, because are we just talking about conservation planning and support with accessing funds? Also very important, but there's also this piece of technical assistance about like, what happens when you just need help in the field because you don't have like the people and expertise in your community to help you do everything that you need to get done on your farm.
Thanks, Kaylee, and that's true and great to define that. When I'm talking technical assistance, it's definitely the technical advice and planning, things like that. We aren't allowed to actually do the physical part of it, and that's a whole another conversation. But and you probably have seen some of that. They probably shouldn't have been doing it. A lot of times that's where we rely heavily on our conservation district partners because they can do that more readily without some of the legalities involved with all of it. But also IAC, I think, may have some capacity there and some of our other partners. So I'll stop and let them speak to that. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll answer that. And thanks for that question. It's for IAC, you know, where each TA is specialized in a subject, and so really it's a network of people that address that exact need or problem that you might have. We're kind of like in between. We're a tribal nonprofit made up of tribal producers, so we've all ideally should have experience in any number of categories of agricultural commodities. And so, you know, just reach out to us. We have each TA has a limited amount of funds set aside for us to come and visit you, see what's going on in your community, you know, make sure you're connected with NRCS, the offices of the USD offices, FSA, and yeah, we'll be there to help, you know, make sure you know how to plant your plants, or, you know, if you have youth in your community that you want to build up and make sure that they are aware of how to produce food for your community. We have the youth internship. It's a paid internship, and, you know, we'll partner with a farm for you to for the youth to learn how to do the farming, get hands-on experience. And then between ourselves and the Technical Assistance Network and then our natural resource department, we could, and NRCS, we could, you know, come out there and walk through, provide technical assistance, and then also like kind of going further into that question, you know, we have departments. American Indian Foods is a program that'll give you a trademark about to verify that you're a native producer. And so all these are free programs for tribes and tribal producers. And Annie, I don't know if you want to add anything.
So just an example of some of the technical assistance I provided since I started was some of these grant opportunities. You know, I talked to some of the producers, and they say, well, I didn't fill it out because I don't know anything about it. I don't know how to do it. You know, there's don't have the, so I tell them that, well, I could sit down with you and we can go over the grant together, and we can, I can help you fill it out. I'm not here to write your grant for you. You're the one that has to write it out. I can just assist you where you feel you need assistance in like understanding and who to contact for the grant. And so that's the type of assistance I've been providing for, just to get, and then give them information on different grant opportunities we have or received, and just traveling to do just when out traveling to do presentations. I like to walk around, you know, in the village and talk to people and ask them about about what they're doing, and are they interested in agriculture opportunities, just to find out what's going on, and then let them know that the types of technical assistance we offer to IEC that would be able to help them out. And I'm still learning a lot. I'm learning mainly from other technical assistance specialists throughout the nation. And I hear of all the good work that's happening down in the States, where the technical assistance specialists are out there. They're going out to the field, and they're just, helping hammer fences and doing things like that. So,
Thanks, Annie. That's a really good point. I do think, and that's some of, what we do at Rural Cap Grow is just encouragement to get through, sorry, Anne, the paperwork, like we know it can be a hurdle, just there's so much stuff and it sounds really weird. And we can't do it for you, but like just encouragement and like, just the little bit of a push you can get through it. Darren, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Annie, Kelly, for sharing with us. Great information. I'm down here in Juneau, serving Southeast Alaska communities with Extension, and I would love to just partner more fully with IAC. Down here, we have our active NRCS partners, but we are with Extension and our networks able to be on the ground. Annie, if or and whomever to be down here, get in the field and get into the villages. We do, I think doing workshops is a good kind of workaround sometimes. Hey, we'll do a high tunnel workshop, and at the end we have a built high tunnel, so check that off. We've done some things in Angoon like that, where we brought in experts who are just volunteers and eager to help and build greenhouses and stuff like that. So there are people who are ready to get on the ground and to dig around and teach folks. And so I'm definitely excited about that. And as well, learning more about the youth internship opportunities to see if we can get a few going down here in Southeast. But thank you again. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, Darren. Good to see you. Well, it is about 1 o'clock, so I'll go ahead and thank everybody for coming. Thank you so much to our contributors. There's lots of resources out there.